I have to say that these poems are a similar vintage to John Dougal's poems that he read, but not nearly as adventurous. When I was in Kyoto I came in April 1978 and stayed there for 6 years, 3 married and 3 single. And I was mostly studying and falling in love. So these poems are not about studying or falling in love. The first one is not about Kyoto. It's about an island in the Seto Naikai where I went for a camping trip once. These are just what you might call free verse. I don't know. I just wrote them. Anyway, this is number 1. Sunlight dripping off the green leaves, deep shadows vibrating with semi, hot summer mist rising off the blue water, an old man plying his fishing boat between the islands, furry with summer growth. The harbor, textured piled on texture, the rough unpainted surface of boats on the rocks, ropes flung over the gritty wall, 2 cats picking their way over the beach, sniffing at fish heads and lettuce-like seaweed. Little old woman with prawns spread out. Morning glories nodding at house doors. Crabs scuttling across the bleached sidewalk. And corks, weeds, melons, bits of jetsam floating abandoned between the hulls. Smell of rosemary which grows wild, the ingenious scarecrows, sentinels of the fields. Birds wheeling among them, corn and melons, breathing in the sweet scent of island top. Pines standing waiting on the hill brow. Spiders in the morning and mosquitoes at night. Smells of salty bathing suits, ashes, empty bottles lying on the dusty grass. The tent doors flapping on the sea wind. The tiny waves lapping the sharp rocks. Okay, the next poem was my husband, whom I've been married to for now 43 years. At that time, he was just my boyfriend. And he went to Australia to study, leaving me in Kyoto in 1979. And this was a poem that I wrote at the airport when we went to see him off. It was me and some of his friends, and also his whole family came at the same time, so that's what this is about. The long torture was nearly over. With sore, strained eyes and my hair whipped into strings by the wind, I stood on the gray, swept platform in the sunlight, waiting for the huge thing to move off. It crouched there inexorably like a huge queen bee, with thousands of tiny workers clustered round it, feeding it, readying it for its journey. Somewhere in its insides, he too waited for takeoff, looking or not looking at the cold, bedraggled group outside, arranging his belongings in the way of travelers, detached, numbed, his mind on little things. Many tiny occurrences round the plane, then suddenly the motors roared terribly. The tiny figures in the cockpit flipped the controls. The tiny men ran out from under the giant insect. The huge wheels ponderously began to turn. My misery long drained from me. I sobbed quietly, dry-eyed, as he slowly rolled out of my life. I didn't know in those days. As he slowly a long, inconsequential wait as they taxied down the field. Then suddenly the bird came into sight, rushing, tilting, then finally soaring up into the sunlight, through the little clouds, gone. And as I turned away, disbelieving it all, I saw his mother staring after the vanished plane, her handkerchief pressed to her face. And suddenly my anguish was for her, and I embraced her. And this is my birthday, which I celebrated by myself. This is finally a poem about Kyoto. This is Kamigamo Jinja on April 9th, 1979. It's a pretty day. Sunlight, white blossoms, strawberries, sugar biscuits, green grass, The spring wind runs high over all the other sounds, breaking them up and carrying them away like petals. Everything is afloat. So am I. I have no place to go, nothing to do. Nobody knows me here. We are all like petals, floating through the air as our life, soon to lodge somewhere in the grass. So what? Today is bright, a little girl day, and this little girl is happy.